Tales of the Odyssey, Book 5, Return to Ithaca. Chapter 1, Separation and Sorrow. Beneath an olive tree in a strange shore lay Odysseus, the lost king of Ithaca. The weeks before, Odysseus had fought for his life against a terrible storm. He had lived many days without food or fresh water. He had narrowly escaped death with the aid of a sea goddess. Now, covered by a blanket of leaves, he was drifting into deep and exhausted sleep. For the 20 years since he had left the battlefields of Troy, Odysseus had tried desperately to return to his beloved island of Ithaca. In that time, he had braved many storms and fought many monsters. He had lost his fleet of 12 ships and all of his men. Odysseus urged always to return to his home and be reunited with his wife Penelope and their son Telemachus. Though he had not seen them in 20 years, they were ever in his heart and mind. But as he lay on this distant shore, it seemed impossible to Odysseus that he would never get home. As Odysseus slept on the beach far away, Penelope slept in her palace bed, weary from weeping. For many years, wicked men had invaded her husband's estate, demanding that she choose one of them for her husband. Penelope had steadfastly refused, and now her suitors were willing to kill her son as he returned home from searching for his father. Upon hearing this news, Penelope had collapsed. She could hardly bear her husband's absence. Surely she would die if she lost her son as well. Far away from Ithaca, Penelope's son Telemachus lay in a splendid chamber in the palace of King and Queen of Sparta. He had traveled to find news of his father, and his quest had been fulfilled. King Menelaus told him that Odysseus might be a captain on the island of the goddess Calypso. Since receiving this news, Telemachus had asked himself the same questions over and over. Should he set out in search of Calypso's island in hopes of finding his father, or should return to Ithaca and help his mother in a struggle against a suitor who was trying to take his father's position? The son of Odysseus did not know that even now evil men were waiting to ambush him on his way home. High on Mount Olympus, the grey-eyed goddess Athena looked down on Odysseus, Penelope, and Telemachus. Something must have been done to save Odysseus and his wife and son, she thought, and quickly. So in the hour before dawn, Athena left in the bright, perfect world in the clouds and slipped down to the small, troubled world below. Athena traveled swiftly over the earth to the land of King Alcinous. King Alcinous was a wise and generous leader, and his kingdom was blessed. Men were the best sailors in all the world, and all the women were best weavers. Athena passed green fields, splendid temples, and lovely houses, till finally she came to the palace of the king and queen. In the hour before dawn, she slipped through the entranceway, then down the hall to the chamber of King's daughter Nausicaa. The goddess glided silently into the princess's room. Like a breath of wind, she passed 2 young handmaidens sleeping near the door. Athena hovered for a moment over the princess's bed. Then she quickly changed her shape to that of Nausicaa's closest friend. He spoke to the princess as if in a dream. "Nausicaa, you are so lazy," she said. "Don't you know that there are many dirty clothes in the palace that must be washed? How will you ever marry if you don't have a clean gown? Don't you must load the best linen into a wagon and go to the pools near the shore and do the washing." The grey-eyed goddess then slipped out of the palace as swiftly, as silently as she had come. When dawn broke, Nausicaa woke and remembered a strange dream. She hurried at once to her parents' chamber. "Father, I must go today and wash all our best clothes in the sea," she said. "If I don't have clean clothes, how will I ever marry?" King Alcinous smiled. He thought his daughter's words were strange, but he could refuse in nothing. "That's what you wish, Nausicaa. That is what you shall do," he said. "I shall tell the servants to fetch a wagon and harness the mules so you can carry all our clothes down to the sea." The king's servants quickly prepared a wagon. The princess and her handmaidens loaded piles of soiled cloaks, robes, tunics, and gowns into the wagon. They packed a lunch of bread and meat, a goatskin filled with wine, and a flask of golden olive oil. Nausicaa climbed into the driver's seat of the wagon and snapped the reins. A team of mules lunged forward. The wagon rattled noisily over the road, carrying the princess and her handmaidens toward the sea. When they came to the washing pools near the shore, the girls unhitched the mules. They unloaded the wagon and carried the piles of clothes down to the pools. They stamped on the garments, washing them in seawater until they were spotless. They spread them over the rocks to dry. As they waited for the sun and wind to dry their laundry, the princess and her handmaidens bathed in the sea. They ate their bread and meat. They threw off their veils and began playing ball. The princess tossed the ball high into the air and made them miss the catch. The ball rolled into the water. As the girls ran to get it, they laughed and shouted. Not far away, sad and weary man lay beneath a blanket of leaves under an olive tree. When he heard the voices of young girls, he opened his eyes. Where am I? He wondered. Who is shouting and laughing? The voices sound like those of nymphs who haunt rivers and mountains. Odysseus broke through a tuft of thick leaves to hide his nakedness. Then he crept out from under the olive tree into the afternoon sun. Chapter 3. The Stranger. Then the handmaidens saw Odysseus. They screamed and ran away. Princess Nausicaa stood very still, for Athena had filled her heart with courage. The young girl stared at the unkempt stranger, covered in sea salt and dirt and leaves. Beautiful princess, are you a goddess or a mortal? Odysseus said, Whoever you are, have pity on me, for I have suffered much. I was tossed upon the sea for 20 days, till the waves flung me onto the shore. Can you give me clothes to hide my nakedness? Can you tell me the way to town? The princess drew close to Odysseus. Stranger, I believe you are a good man, she said. I am Nausicaa, the daughter of King Alcinous. My maids and I will help you. Nausicaa called out for her handmaidens to come out of their hiding places. She ordered them to bring clean clothes and olive oil for the mischievous stranger. Odysseus washed himself in a stream, then rubbed the olive oil over his battered, sun-dried skin. When he had dressed himself in a tunic and cloak, the princess's handmaidens brought him meat and wine. After Odysseus had finished his meal, Princess Nausicaa told him what he must do. "You may follow our wagon to the walls of the town," she said, "but when we get inside the walls, you must leave us. The men of my land are the finest sailors in the world. They're suspicious of strangers. They think you're a vagabond from some foreign ship and speak ill of me for leading you to our city." "Where should I go?" asked Odysseus. "Inside the walls of the city there is a grove of poplars sacred to Athena. Wait there until I have time to get home," said Nausicaa. "Then come to the palace. Inside you will find my parents sitting before a fire. My mother will be spinning dark blue wool. Kneel before her and ask for help." The princess then shook the reins of the wagon. The mules began clattering toward town. Odysseus followed the wagon past fields and farmland, and the harbor filled with fine ships. When the wagon arrived at the narrow gates of the city, Odysseus followed it through the gates, then stopped and watched it rattle on without him. Odysseus walked quickly through a marketplace filled with merchants selling fish, sails, and ship's oars. As he made his way between the stalls, several of the merchants and customers eyed him suspiciously. Odysseus quickly slipped past them and entered a sacred grove of poplar trees. He hid among the trees, waiting for the princess to reach the palace. While he waited, Odysseus prayed to the gods. "Hear me, O gods of Olympus. Have pity upon me," he begged. "Grant that I may make my way safely to the palace to find favor with the king and queen." Odysseus remained hidden in the olive grove till he was sure Princess Nausicaa had enough time to reach the palace. Then he stepped cautiously out onto the city streets again. As Odysseus started out of the grove, a strange mist covered his body. No one seemed to notice him as he made his way through the streets. "Has Athena made me invisible?" he wondered. Suddenly a small girl stepped in front of Odysseus. The child stared up at him with bright gray eyes. Odysseus wondered. The girl might be Athena in disguise. "Can you tell me to the palace of the king?" he asked her. "I will show you," said the child. "Follow me and speak to no one." Odysseus followed the girl through the streets. When they drew near the palace, she said simply, "Go inside and look for the queen." Then she disappeared, leaving Odysseus alone at the palace gates. Odysseus entered the gates and passed through an orchard of trees, laden with luscious figs, pears, and apples. He walked through a rich vineyard and a bountiful flower garden. When he entered the halls of the palace, he gasped in wonder. The palace shone with a splendor like that of the sun and moon. Golden statues of boys holding fiery torches lit the halls. In the gleaming light, handmaidens worked at their looms. Their fingers fluttered like aspen leaves in the wind as they wove their beautiful loom. No one seemed to notice Odysseus as he walked through the palace, by Athena's cloak of mist. He slipped silently into the great hall. As Odysseus looked about for the queen, he saw a group of nobles sitting near an open fire. Nearby sat the queen and a woman spinning wool. Odysseus moved quickly toward Nausicaa's mother. As he knelt in the ashes beyond the hearth, he felt the mist around him evaporate, and suddenly he was visible again. Some in the hall cried out in alarm when they saw the strange, haggard man. Odysseus spoke quickly and passionately to the queen. "I humbly beg you to have pity on me," he said. "I have come here from beyond the sea. Help me find my way back to my home country, to my wife and son."